What's up, guys? This is Torq Amp Sessions, Season 1, Episode 6 with Reco. And today we're joined by Todd Wilson, Head of Global Channels and Alliances at Reco. Todd, we gotta know before we jump into it, are you amped?
I am so amped. I'm even more amped because our agents are working together and talking to each other like they're best friends.
We're here with Reco to talk about dynamic SaaS security at machine speed today.
So Todd, I want to start with you. So Reco's platform gives organizations deep visibility into broad coverage of data access and permissions. How does that visibility help accelerate the journey towards an autonomous SOC?
SaaS is ever growing. AI is built on SaaS, right? And we keep adding in new AI apps and SaaS apps into our ecosystem. And by leveraging our integrations and the Torq workflows, we can do the remediation, but then also create an AI SOC with our 11 agents and your agents talking together, helping customers manage issues at, as Bob said, machine speed.
Bob, from Torq's perspective, how does Reco's data access intelligence plug into our autonomous SOC vision?
Yeah, Brent, Torq HyperSOC thrives on context, and Reco is providing incredibly rich, identity-driven context around data movement and AI exposure in those SaaS applications like Todd just mentioned, right? And what that does is it gives our hyperautomation engine and our AI agents like Socrates the context that they need to make precise, risk-based decisions automatically. It's another great example of agentic AI communicating with agentic AI and elevating signals from Reco into an immediate, explainable security action through Torq hyperautomation.
Todd, how do you see the proliferation of AI apps and apps with embedded AI transforming how organizations manage access risk in real time?
Today it's tough. Everyone wants to add on the latest vibe coding or whatever tool to make business go faster, which is amazing. But there's so many risks, what the permission sets are, what can they have access to, what data are we putting there? Is it feeding their LLM or is it, your own private, right? So what we're seeing is a lot of customers looking to get that information quick and at their fingertips so that way they can make the decision to allow it and really, manage a workflow in minutes versus days or hours.
So Bob, once Reco flags a high-risk data access event, what happens inside Torq?
Yeah, Britt. So Reco's gonna send that signal over to Torq HyperSOC, right? And that's gonna trigger Torq HyperSOC to analyze those access requests, right? Like Todd just mentioned, gather enrichment information from other tools like Google Workspace, which we'll show you in a little bit in the demo portion here, or Okta, ServiceNow, et cetera, right? And then execute a targeted workflow based on the analysis of both Reco and Torq HyperSOC, right? So depending on the organization's policies, Torq will automatically go in and revoke access or alert a manager that someone who's unapproved is requesting access to a specific application or an AI application, or even validate that user through an MFA challenge, right? All without human analyst intervention. This is taking a security alert from Reco and using hyperautomation to turn it into a business process so it's repeatable, precise, and it's executed across the entire environment in the exact same way.
And finally, Todd, what are you most amped about regarding the breadth of security outcomes possible for Reco and Torq's mutual customers?
The biggest one is just that we're customers of each other. So today, right, our teams are actually working together to build these integrations, not just for customer X, Y, or Z, but we are both customer zero with each other. And, from talking to the teams, understand what they're doing, what could have taken 8 hours of research and gathering all the context. Now between our agentic AI, your AI platform, getting that context everywhere else on top of Reco is 15 minutes. So if an analyst has to get involved, which most likely they don't, it's 15 minutes or zero, saving so much time and effort, but also driving more integrations for both companies to help their customers see success, not just on Cursor or ChatGPT or Microsoft, right? 200, 300 apps is really viable now.
Definitely. Well, let's see this in action. Todd, can you show us the Reco platform?
Reco first starts off with discovery. What apps are in use, who's using them, how they're using them. Here, I'm going to focus on an AI-driven use case because that's where customers are really seeing a lot of investment today is, how do they go faster, better? And so here we can see we found over 2,000 AI apps in use in enterprise. Reco gives a nice graphical interface to say, hey, yes, there's so many apps, but let's see where they're coming from. Today, We use Google as our IDP, so you can see all the great auth types coming from Google. Now, these are all AI apps that are connected and some risk, right? The little dial pad here lets you know that app is connected with Reco, whereas the plugin lets you know we have a plug-in for that app. Can then integrate with that app and create a really nice workflow for your team to support. So what does that look like in the real use case, right? We've got these apps. What are those apps doing? Well, Claude, great AI app today. We use a lot internally. We look to see what's the risk, what's the permission set, who's using it. Well, today, our auth types are social login and OAuth 2.0. OAuth 2.0 is good. MFA, single sign-on is better. But we see a lot of people with social login. Great way to trigger an alert to get people to have the right identity in place. But also, we see the permission set. So here, Claude is getting access to your email address, right? See all your personal info within Google. All risks that if you need to be GDPR or other compliance, your business may not want to take.
Great. Thanks, Todd. That's super interesting. Great to see, Reco. I mean, that graph is incredible, being able to see all those insights, right? So now what we want to do is see what happens when Reco does detect, let's say, for example, let's go ahead and check in the run log here and see what Reco is sending over to Torq and how we can help turn that security alert into a business process and approve a access request to one of these applications. So it looks like what we're looking at here is this user, Trevor, has connected Claude.ai to the organization's Google Drive, right? So that's triggered an alert in Reco, and that's going to be sent over to Torq. Now, the first thing that we are going to do is we're going to start looking through Google Drive to list account users, list account groups, see if there's any pre-approved groups for attaching their Claude.ai instance into the Google Workspace, right? And if they're pre-approved, we'll go ahead, exit the workflow, let that connection go through, send that back over to Reco, and we'll close out that alert, right? But if they are not on the pre-approved Claude list within our Google Workspace, right? The first thing that we're going to do is revoke that connection. We want to pull that out right away so we don't have an unauthorized user connecting this AI application to their Google Workspace. We'll keep going down and we'll do a little bit more digging into Google Workspace. Right here, what we're trying to find is, does the user who tried to grant access to Claude have PII within their Google Workspace account? Now, if they do, if PII is found, we'll follow this branch here. And what we're going to do is go ahead, add that user to a restricted group so they are not going to be able to add Claude to their Google Workspace moving forward, and we'll send them a notification email. That's going to look something like this. Claude Google Drive connection has been revoked. Quick message to that end user. We'll highlight the different documents within their Google Workspace that have PII, and then give a little bit of a prompt for next steps. Hey, if you really need Claude, talk to your manager, review our company policies, etc., etc. But let's take a look at what happens if this user is not on the pre-approved Claude list and doesn't have PII within their Google Workspace, right? First, we're going to create a case for approval, and we're going to send that over to the security team so that they can start working this case and start understanding if this user should have access to Claude. So let's pop over into our case management tab here. If I go ahead and refresh, it looks like that case that was just triggered by Reco is going to pop at the top of our case management queue, right? So that we can prioritize that as a security analyst who logs into Torq and says, all right, well, what are the cases that I should jump into first, right? This is obviously a prioritized alert, so we want to take a look at it right away. So first thing you're going to see when you open this case is that AI-generated case summary that gives you a quick summary of what happened, when it happened, the potential impact. Hey, the connection to Claude poses a risk of data exfiltration. This is categorized as risk type application, etc., etc. So there's a number of different actions that I, as an analyst, might want to take in this situation, right? So I'm going to use Socrates, our AI SOC analyst, to go ahead and jump in here and ask Socrates to do a little bit more digging for me by reaching back out to Reco to gather more information. So what I'm going to do is I'll say, hey, Socrates, give me... So I'll ask Socrates to get me an identity overview from Reco so I can understand a little bit more what's going on. we can pop this hyper-automated workflow in here, right? I use natural language to ask Socrates to accomplish a task for me, and that triggered a hyper-automated workflow that's going to reach back out to Reco, get that identity overview, and get an identity LLM summary. This is pretty cool, right? This is what Todd mentioned earlier, where our AI agents are communicating with each other, right? We pop this open. We've got this full block of text that we've pulled over from Reco. It's not that pretty. It's not that easy to look at, right? But what we're going to do is format that and add that as a note to our case. So you can see Socrates actually just gave me a little bit of a summary here. But if I go over to the Notes tab, I can pop this open here, scroll down all the way to the bottom, and I'll get that full summary, right? This is the AI insight that we're pulling out of Reco to understand, should we or should we not approve this user's access request to Claude into their Google Drive. So accounts medium risk, alerts low risk. Here's some remediation steps that we could take. This is all great information for us to be able to pull over to Reco. But what I want to do here is really get to the point where I can close out this case and move on to my next task for the day. So I guess the first thing is, let me reach out to this user's manager using these quick action trigger buttons. So whenever we create a case in Torq, we're going to look at the category, look at that AI generated case summary, understand what's happening, and add some quick action trigger buttons that allow us to kick off hyper automated workflows immediately so that we can speed up that remediation process even when there is human in the loop remediation. So I just asked Socrates to generate this question for me that I'm going to go ahead and send over to this end user, Jeremy's manager. I click send there. Now we pop on over to Slack. I can take a look and say, oh, look, Torq just reached out to me, posing as the user's manager right now. Hey, we've got a request. One of the users on your team tried to access a third-party app, Claude, which has been connected to the organization's Google Drive. This is part of the process. Here's some details for your consideration. Do you want to approve this or deny this? So let's say Jeremy's manager in this case says, yeah, no, Jeremy can access Claude. He can add Claude to his Google Drive, right? We already know from the hyper automated workflow before, Jeremy doesn't have a ton of PII built into his Google workspace, so that's pretty safe request. You can see here in the timeline view, all of these actions that are being taken are going to be documented so that you can go back and take a look at how this case was remediated, right? But what we do know is, if we look at the note here, the manager response was, Jack Smith said granted at 11:06, right? 21:56. So we know that the manager has approved Jeremy's access to Claude. So then I can just go ahead right in here, app approval. I'm going to go ahead and say approve because the manager has given us the thumbs up on Jeremy adding Claude to his Google Workspace account. That will trigger another hyper automated workflow that's going to go remove Jeremy from that restricted group. It's going to remove the access that's been revoked from his initial request. We'll send him a notification that says, hey, you've been approved for Claude. And then if we circle back over in that initial workflow, guys, right? The next time that Jeremy goes to connect Claude to his Google Workspace account, if Reco triggers it, it'll go down the line here. It'll look to make sure that he is on that approved Claude list within our Google Workspace. He is. True. It'll exit the workflow, let Reco know, hey, this is an approved application. This is approved use of AI. And that's turning a security alert into a repeatable business process with consistency across the entire environment. Britt, send it back to you.
Awesome, Bob. It's really cool to see how it all comes together. So thank you for showing us. And Todd, thank you so much for joining us today. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. This is the end of season 1, but stay tuned for Torq Amp Session season 2 coming soon.